tax advantage products in the country and serves a nationwide network of financial professionals. Call 1-800-290-7226 or email thequest@brokersalliance.com. And remember, when you need financial guidance, call Brokers Alliance.
Well, welcome back to the Quest for Financial Freedom. I'm your host, Steve Savan, and of course with me in the second half of our show today is national insurance expert, I must say, Eric Palmer. Welcome back to the show, Eric.
Thanks.
Hey, you can write Eric or I at thequest@brokersalliance.com or call us toll-free, 1-800-290-7226. That's 1-800-290-7226. We're going to get into a whole new product. I can't believe we're talking about term and all this stuff with it. Eric, this week we're talking about health care, not just Obamacare, because we're really not into that all week long. We're trying to talk about other care that people are trying to address now as we're getting older. And I noticed when you sent me this script about all the new things that are happening, this one caught my eye. I have to tell you, this is so odd. And first of all, let me just say, a life insurance contract that goes out, a term contract, by the way. This is a term contract, ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about. Goes out 40 years, depending upon the age, of course.
That's right.
But 40 years. I mean, I thought 30 years was out there. We're talking 40 years of term. This is true term. This isn't some bastardized version of UL or whole life, right?
Absolutely. Somebody from the age 18 to 40 could buy a 40-year term, take them into age 80.
I can't even conceive of going that long. But we're not here to talk about term insurance here. We're here to talk about this contract carries, I mean, I'm just looking at this list: critical illness, chronic illness, terminal illness, unemployment, and death benefit, of course, all on one contract. And you could, for a little bit more money, if you wanted to do the Cadillac version of this, you could actually waive the premiums if you became disabled, or you could actually turn on the income stream and generate disability income all on one contract.
That's
I'm
right.
sorry, that's a mouthful. That's too much to talk about.
It's one of the most amazing products that are out there today. We don't typically on this show identify specific products or pick one product out, but this one truly is unique. It's standalone in the industry. And let's talk about the benefits real quick, because we're using some terminology, long-term care, for instance, today. That this isn't exactly your traditional long-term care type feature that you would find on a policy. We refer to them actually as living benefits.
So this is an ADL, really?
Yeah, well, the ADL comes into it here. It does, but we're not
and
talking
ADL,
about
what is that again? Just to make sure.
That's an activity of daily living.
Okay, because if somebody missed our show Monday, they didn't get
dressing yourself, feeding yourself, those are activities of daily living.
So that still has to go down that little gauntlet of questions.
It absolutely does, but what we're talking about in this particular policy is really an acceleration of the death benefit itself. So where we're familiar with long-term care taking maybe monthly payments or reimbursement for our medical expenses, these policies are putting you in a position to, in some cases, get a large lump sum of money out of your policy, an acceleration of the death benefit itself. And I'll break these terms down. We talk about terminal illness. What is terminal illness? It's an injury or an illness that's reducing your life expectancy under 12 months. So terminal illness is when you've been told that you've got a severe injury or a severe illness that, again, is reducing your life expectancy under 12 months.
And so the timeline's 12 months, so really that's a short timeline.
That's a very short timeline. And a lot of times with a terminal illness, you don't want to stake your family with a large medical bill. Maybe at the last several months of your life, there's a lot of treatment that you're going through. Insurance doesn't always cover that particularly. So that acceleration, that lump sum amount of money we can create for the client can really help the family. We also talk about chronic illness. Chronic illness is where we get into that activities of daily living. It's where you have an illness or an injury that you can no longer perform 2 out of the 6 activities of daily living, like we mentioned: bathing, eating, toileting, dressing, those types of things. Critical illness, and this is the part that really kind of stands out for me personally. I think that most of us listening today or watching us online, we have a lot of familiarity with stroke, cancer, and heart attack. We either know somebody or a family member, or we ourselves have gone through one of those types of conditions. Critical illness is saying that basically if you have one of those type of severe health conditions, you can accelerate up to 90% of the death benefit. Let me give you an example.
I'm blowing away. Before you give your example, we're talking about cashless policy here.
Right.
They're going to advance. If I'm hearing correctly, they're going to advance 90% of the, so if you have like a $500,000 death benefit, they're going to give you 90% of that $500,000 if this critical illness, is it critical? It's critical, right?
Critical illness, exactly.
It occurs. That blows my mind.
It's amazing.
Tax-free?
It's not tax-free.
Oh, okay.
That's a great point. We have to take a look at certain things. You know, there's itemized medical expenses that you can take deductions for. That's natural. Again, talk to your tax advisor. You know, it's what's most appropriate for you individually. But this acceleration of benefits is essentially putting cash in your hands for you to use in the case that you couldn't go back to work, or you have a large medical or hospital bill that you've got to cover, and the existing insurances that you purchased, your health insurance, for example, weren't covering those items. So that large acceleration of cash is crucial for a lot of those individuals, and it's extremely helpful.
Well, what's the difference? I'm trying to get my head around the critical illness versus chronic.
Chronic illness is a situation where you no longer can perform 2 out of the 6 acts of daily living, and
that's a direct ADL
effect.
issue.
Absolutely,
activities of daily living.
Absolutely. Okay. Critical illness, we're looking at, you know, you have a massive heart attack, you're still alive, and actually I'll give you a statistic. We're using a lot of statistics today, but individuals that actually have heart attacks in a lot of cases are living at least still 5 years after the heart attack. So we're not talking about to the point where you're not able to bathe, not able to feed yourself, and your maybe life expectancy is very, very short. We're talking about individuals that have massive heart attacks probably are going to live still a number of years, if not even longer, due to the advances of medicine, and need an acceleration of a benefit to help cover the cost that comes along with a significant impairment like that.
Well, if I'm looking at these critical illness, chronic illness, terminal illness, if I am unemployed, it's going to pick up this premium for me. And, of course, if I actually die from any of these things, I still have my death benefit. And
we're talking about health side of these things, but I will mention about the unemployment because it's something that's on a lot of people's minds right now. Unemployment's up. It's a big issue right now in the U.S. It'll actually, after 90 days consecutively of unemployment, you can actually waive premium. So it'll start paying the premium for you for 3 months. It carry you through a period of time to get you back on your feet. So the policy doesn't lapse or basically become useless to you at that point if you end up unemployed.
So is that the top out? Is that 90 days?
90 days consecutive unemployment, then you qualify for the benefit.
And how long do they pay it?
They'll cover you for an additional 3 months.
So total all in is
90 days benefit paid.
Benefit paid. And you can, as we mentioned earlier, you could buy disability. You could buy an income stream that's a little bit more. Is it worth it while looking at it? Or?
Yeah, it's absolutely worth looking at it because, like you mentioned on the last segment, disability insurance is kind of that overlooked part of the equation that's extremely important when we're planning for somebody. And so the ability to afford that extra feature is absolutely imperative. You have to take a look at it. The chronic, the critical, and the terminal illness features are built in, meaning you're not paying extra premium for that. It's all lumped into the premium you're paying for the term insurance itself.
When I look at that, though, I was comparing a $500,000 on a regular plain vanilla term contract using the same health classification. So I noticed that this was about 25% more than a traditional term.
Absolutely.
So you have to pay. You're paying a little bit more because you got a value proposition.
You're paying a little bit more, but this is the way I look at it. When we identify the cost of a standalone long-term care policy, a standalone critical illness policy, which you can purchase, and a standalone term insurance policy, an individual could be paying. And I'll give you an example. Let's take a 40-year-old male. $300,000 policy. You could be paying somewhere around $330 a month for all 3 of those standalone policies, and that's a lot of premium that may not be affordable to a 40-year-old currently, especially in this economy. This policy, having all 3 of those components built into one, that same individual could purchase a $300,000 30-year term insurance policy that includes all those benefits we're talking about for only $66 a month. So you went from $330 a month with all the standalone coverage down to $66 a month with this blended product. Yeah, because you're dealing one contract. You don't have all the policy fees involved in this. You are really consolidating issues. So the actuary, somebody in the basement of some billions big corporation, actually figured out that this is how to price this. So if you were just looking for straight term coverage, you should buy straight term. Right. But if you're saying, gee, I need a little bit more than that, and maybe I have a disposition, maybe my family has a genetic disposition, for cardio events. Exactly. Or cancer in the family. If I have family history like this, buying it now kind of is a preemptive act
on top of my normal term coverage. And we're not talking, again, you said the savings is really quite outstanding. If you tried to buy these individually, you have this homogenized product, this integrated product that is really it really gives you the economy of scale. You're really getting a bang for your buck.
It does, especially today. It's important now as planners to keep the cost down. I mean, we have to still retire and keep the roof over our head, the gas in the car, and the food on the table. So these extra health care expenses that we incur because we have a massive heart attack or stroke can really put somebody under. And so a policy like this, for the extra few bucks that we end up spending on a monthly basis for the premium, it'll be well worth it if that event actually ends up happening.
Well, I'm thinking of all the statistics. We've been talking about numbers all week long. I mean, this stat and that fact, and
Right.
I know that the probability is so high that we will incur some event, maybe critical illness, maybe a chronic issue that occurs. All these things, I can see that happening. I always keep thinking that it's not going to be me. Right, it's going to be somebody else. I have that invulnerability. I'm invincible. So to speak. And I'm trying to see if I have this. Does this have any? What if I don't use any of this? And I come to my term. Did I throw this money away?
That's what the best part about this is that because we're talking about term insurance, we have the conversion option. We can actually convert this to a permanent policy, and the permanent policy will carry over these benefits. So the same product feature we're talking about, there is a more long-term option that we have available, but the idea is that we're not in that use it or lose it type mentality. We have the ability to have a tax-free death benefit go to our beneficiaries if we don't use any of these living benefits, or if we use some of them, then the difference that we didn't pull out of the pool of money is still payable tax-free to our beneficiaries.
If you didn't use any of this, is there anything in the contract that would maybe return your premium or something like that?
There are contracts out there, and we'll talk about them, I think, later the week, but there's single premium contracts out there. They have a return of premium. You're 7 years into this policy. You decide, you know what? I bought some standalone coverage, or maybe you don't need it anymore. You actually have the ability to get all your premium back. It's a great investment.
So there's even if you had buyer's remorse, as long as you didn't trigger the event and you said, I just want out, depending upon how long you've been in some of these contracts, that could actually occur.
Absolutely.
So you're really not really losing. You're kind of getting a free look here.
It is. It's the answer to the problems that we saw before, where with long-term care we either couldn't afford it, couldn't justify the cost, or the use it or lose it mentality was really holding us back. So this product literally answers all those questions.
Well, listen, I want to thank you, Eric, for being on our show today. Our sponsor, Brokers Alliance, and America, where anyone can go on a quest for financial freedom. So until next time, remember what the good John Wesley once said. Make all you can, save all you can, give all you can. I'm Steve Savant. Join me next time on my quest for financial freedom.
Quest for Financial Freedom is brought to you by Brokers Alliance, the premier provider of guaranteed and tax advantage products to a nationwide network of financial professionals. Need financial guidance? Call Brokers Alliance. You can request an email link of this webcast at our email address, thequest@brokersalliance.com, or call us 1-800-290-7226. That's 800-290-7226. And join Steve Savant next time on the Quest for Financial Freedom in your lifetime.